Hi, hello everyone. Hi, my name is Gavin Dahay Trinidad, and I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Community Engagement Associate here at New York Theater Workshop. Well, I'm not really there, but this is the magic of technology, so you can believe I'm in the kitchen of New York Theater Workshop. And we welcome you to today's Fireside Chat. And we're broadcasting this talk from Zoom and simultaneously live streaming on Facebook. Hello, Facebook friends. And we're so happy to have you all here. New York Theater Workshop has long sought to create art that interrogates our past as a way of understanding the present and shining light toward the future. So, to that end, we are taking the time to recognize the history of the land we occupy in the East Village. And as we find ourselves in the digital space, we like to embrace this opportunity to acknowledge the many native lands from which we're all tuning in. We're posting in a link right now in the chat where you can learn about the tribal history of the land on which you are situated. We invite everyone to take a moment, input your address into the website, and post in the chat the native land from which you are joining us. Manhattan has always been a gathering and trading place for many indigenous peoples, where nations intersected from all four directions since time immemorial. It was a place to gather and sometimes to seek refuge during times of conflict and struggle. We pay respect to all of their ancestors past, present, to their future generations. We acknowledge that our theater, New York Theater Workshop, and our work is situated on the island of Manhattan, Menohanit, on the island. Traditional lands of the Munsee Lenape, the Canarsie, the Unkachug, the Matanacock, the Shinnecock, the Regawank, and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We respect that many indigenous people continue to live and work on this island and acknowledge their ongoing contributions to this area. Today's panel is part of New York Theater Workshop's virtual programming series, which is all free and available to the entire New York Theater Workshop community, including you. If you are in the position to do so, we hope you would consider making a donation in honor of this conversation to Safe Harbors NYC, and also to NYTW to support ongoing programming. A little bit on Safe Harbors NYC. Safe Harbors NYC is an arts initiative that focuses, and a collective that focuses on the development and production of Native, Indigenous theater and performing arts in New York City. Within the broader American theater, they combat the stereotypes and support vibrant Native communities. The collective develops ongoing dialogue with policymakers about how cultural and socioeconomic issues can be approached through theatrical performances, performing arts, Native cultural consultancy, panel discussions, and cultural events. The collective seeks to build an understanding of Indigenous methodologies and cosmologies that in turn will function as a cultural liaison to non-Native theater artists in the city. And from their words, the more successful we are in engaging these populations, the closer to we hope to be in creating truly cross-cultural lines of communication. And so you can see in the chat, you will find a link to donate to the organizations and in the comments on Facebook Live. And so this conversation will last around an hour, and then we'll open up for Q&A for the last 20 to 15 minutes. When we get to the Q&A portion, just feel free to share your questions for the panelists via the Q&A feature on Zoom, which I believe, yes, they're here. Or comments on Facebook Live. We'll do our best to get all of the questions that we can in the time that we have. So at this moment, I will now pass the mic to my colleague, New York Theater Workshop Literary Director and Dramaturg, Aaron Malkin. Aaron.
Hi, Gavin. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. My name is Aaron. I use he, him pronouns. And I'm so grateful to be here. And without further ado, I would love to invite all everybody from Safe Harbors to join me on the screen. Hi, Muriel. You're muted. Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Hi, everyone. We are graced with two Muriel Borst Tarrants in our list of people. Josie.
Stranger Things.
Um, Thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure to be in space with you all, however virtual it may be, and I cannot wait for the festival to begin in earnest on Monday. To start, I just thought everybody could go and introduce themselves. A little bit about who you are, what is the work that you're doing with Safe Harbors, where do you find yourself on this Thursday evening, at least evening in New York. And why don't we'll start with Muriel, and then Muriel, do you want to call on the next person and we can just go that way or in around Robin?
Sure, yes. My name is Muriel Borst Tarant. I'm Kuna Rappahannock. I'm from New York City. I'm the artistic director of Safe Harbors, New York City, and I'm very glad to be here this evening with everyone to share our thoughts. I would like to call on next Nick Billy, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Billy. I am Choctaw Muskogee, originally from Oklahoma, and I'm enrolled with the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. And I'm the Associate Artistic Director for the Don't Feed the Indians Ensemble. And I'm very happy, very pleased to be doing this evening, and so grateful to New York Theater Workshop, as well as Safe Harbors for everything that you have done to support us in this time of where we couldn't do live theater. So thank you, and thank everyone else for attending. And Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Tarant Danceler, and I am the Executive Director and Web Designer for Safe Harbors New York City. And I'm coming from Chicago. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. And I call on Amber.
Hela, Amber Balwa, I'm Nushi, Dakobere, Kakosadi, Madakni, Klamath, and I'm a citizen of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz. Hello, my name is Amber Ball. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the program director for Safe Harbors. I'm actually tuning in from Denver on Cheyenne Arapaho Tribes territory. What was the rest of that question? Like everything?
I think that was it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and happy to be here, and so thankful for New York Theater Workshop for having us as a company residents. Yeah, and just super stoked for this conversation.
Pass it along, Amber.
I forgot to add that I'm Navajo, Hopi, and Ho-Chunk.
Christina.
Let's go, Josephine.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hinu Josephine Tarrant. I'm Hopi, Ho-Chunk, Kuna, and Rappahannock, and I'm from New York City. I currently reside in Kearney, New Jersey, land of the Lenape. And yeah, that's me. I'm the interim managing director right now. Managing the best I can. And I'm also the artistic executive producer of the Reflections of Native Voices Festival. And I'm just super, super excited. It was so much work went into this. And I feel like, in the beginning, it was some dark days. It was like, oh, are we going to be able to do this? We're missing a team member who really held together a lot of the festival for the past 2 years, really. And, that was my father, Kevin Tarrant, who was the managing director and cultural consultant of Safe Harbors NYC. And it was really scary a little bit, trying to get all these performers together and thinking how we're going to be able to do this without him, because he just had such a great mind for managing like that. But we did it. Almost, and I'm excited, and I really hope all of you guys can join us. I will pass it to Danielle.
All right. Well, hey, everyone. My name is Danielle Soames. I'm Mohawk. My family is from Ganawage, Quebec. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been a Manhattan a girl for quite some time now. I met Muriel in the gang when I was going to the community house and saw Josie grow up. And I mean, this is a family that I really consider my own, and I protect and I trust them. And anyway, this festival is amazing. This festival was like a seed of something we were talking about years ago, where we wanted to do a festival that was focused on Native artists, theater makers, performers, musicians, collaborators, writers, producers, people that we could bring together to really create something astounding, because we always get kind of kitty cornered into a place of Native theater is only one thing. So we wanted to bring something together that highlighted that Native theater is more than just one thing. We have stories just like everyone else. We have history just like everyone else. It's not all feathers and beads and turquoise and the woo woo. This is a lot of our lives are intermixed with America and beyond. But this festival couldn't have been made possible without New York Theater Workshop and La Mama and all of our supporters that we've had. Safe Harbors is a beautiful place, and I really encourage everyone to join with us in this festival. We're proud of it, and we want you to be a part of our history. Thank you.
Thanks. I think, and that's everybody. All of us at New York Theater Workshop are so grateful to be in community with all of you and all of the artists who will be working with and whose work we and La Mama will be sharing over the next couple of weeks. To
Did
build
Nick
up,
I'm sorry, did Nick get to introduce himself? You
Yeah.
did? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just interrupted you, Aaron. I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no, you're good. You're
okay,
good.
go ahead. Continue.
Um, to build off what where Danielle just left off, talking a little bit about safe harbors, I was wondering if any or all of you would want to talk a little bit about the genesis of safe harbors and some of the. I know the festival is in its second or third iteration. It's been going on for multiple years, and we'll get to that. But just how did safe harbors come together, and where are you, and what work have you been doing?
I'll open that. So yeah, we've been up to a lot of things. I think like Danielle said, that's a big part of who Safe Harbors is really working on amplifying Native voices within American theater, and then also, of course, within the New York City theater community, really. And we really work really hard to try to do that, whether it be, introducing producing to somebody who may be an emerging producer, emerging directors, of course, actors and performers, musicians and dancers is always going to be a part of that. But I think a big part that often gets forgotten about is the behind the scenes, right? And what it takes to create these types of pieces. That is really sometimes where we end up lacking, I think, for specifically when people want to when people are thinking of how they can enhance Native voices and how they can amplify Native voices. And a big part of that is the production that goes behind it. And that is directors and producers, and then of course, right, theaters. And that even goes into stage management, lighting design. I mean, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, because I think when we think of Native narratives, those are things that are on the forefront of what creates those Native narratives in a safe space, right? Where someone doesn't feel they're being taken advantage of, someone doesn't feel like they're culturally fatigued, that people are actually getting the real support that they need. And sometimes that is a fellow Native producer, right? Who can go in the room and stick up for the artist, whether it be the performer or the director, right? Or the writer or whoever, whatever the performance is. And I think that's a big part that we harp on. So it's like, we have the Reflections of Native Voices Festival, and that's a big, big event that happens for us because it takes a lot of hands to make that happen as far as the process is concerned. But we also really are working right now on cultivating the Directors Lab. That is something that's really, really important to us, and that's coming up in future events. Right now, we're collaborating with Double Edge to make this happen, and there'll be more details on that when we have more time to focus on it, I believe. Right now, we're just so swamped with festival stuff, but I think that's a big thing that we're also really excited about, is creating curriculum for emerging Native directors, right? And creating spaces to learn more about different types of directing. And then also that bleeds into acting, and then that bleeds into performing. But I think that's one thing that I know Muriel's been working really hard on, and Nick has been working really hard on, and Danielle, and I feel like I'm just kind of an Amber, who's also one of, we're kind of just assisting in the process of making this happen. But, I'm not a curriculum builder. I'm not, a skilled old, I don't want to say older because it has nothing to do with older. I think it's really the skill set, right? And I think that's the thing that we're also pressing on for emerging directors, is that emerging doesn't mean you're a 15-year-old person who wants to direct, right? Because in 5 years, that's going to change. You're going to be doing something else, and that's fine. But I think emerging is emerging, right? I've directed 1 or 2 pieces. That's considered emerging. I'm not an expert in this yet, right? And so I think that's really kind of what we've been focused on. I'm sure Muriel can give more details on that. And then, of course, it's just being a tough year. Trying to find the best way to create programming within this pandemic is for sure a hard task, right? So I think we'll be focusing more on more environmental pieces, more social justice pieces, really to talk about what it is that's happening in Indian country, especially, missing and murdered Indigenous women, Two-Spirits, and peoples. That's something that is affecting us vastly. And that is an epidemic within the pandemic of COVID-19 right now in Indian country. And so I think those are things that we're going to start to begin to focus on while we're still kind of working within like this media virtual age. But I'm sure Muriel or Nick or Danielle can give more details on that as well. I just wanted to put that in there happening.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, Safe Harbors itself started as a program at La Mama. And part of that was not feeling that we as a Native community were getting seen in this big cosmopolitan area of New York City. We weren't on panel discussions. We weren't really being seen on the off-Broadway stage once in a while. And then we had a very big reaction to the musical Bloody Buddy Andrew Jackson. That's kind of how it started, because we were all working, and me, Danielle, Nick, and Josephine was in school, and my husband, we were really working on the political part of this realm. Like we were working in all these different political places. We were on boards, but we weren't working because we felt that work was done. And then when we saw that we need to tell our stories and encourage those stories, that is when we got together, the four of us at the time got together, and we started with one story, one song. And it turned into, audition stories. And then it went into, my daughter at the time was going to conservatory theater, and me and my husband and Nick and Danielle having discussions about, my God, this is hard for a young person who comes from a supportive community, who comes from a supportive family, who comes from a theater family, but yet the same thing is happening, that type of breaking down, that type of, and we kept on talking about our own education and how lucky it is and how we didn't work for years unless we made our own work. So we decided just to make our own work. And, to say what we needed to have to say. We wanted to direct it and write it and perform in it. And from there, it just spun off from La Mama. And then New York Theater Workshop really want to do this festival. And we were very interested in doing this festival because there were many different things that were happening in New York City. There were like 4 or 5, no one was really voicing what we needed to talk about with the work. And that is our primary focus, right? We're political, but still, I am an investor. We are invested in the work, meaning the writing, the performing, the direct. And someone like a month ago, what did they say? Excellence is a racist word. I don't believe that if we're going to talk about colonization and that word, because I'm talking about Native work and Native excellence in our way that is part of our culture, because we do believe that, and excellence, probably it is an English word, but we're all speaking English, are we not here, right? Until I find another, maybe we can say it in Hopi, maybe we can say it in Choctaw, maybe we could say it in Mohawk, maybe we could say it in Salise, maybe we could say it in Rappahannock, maybe we'll be able to say it in these different words. But right now I'm dealing with working in Native excellence. And what does that mean for us? And how do we distribute great work, and how we also can fail if we want to. There's all this high level of achievement for everybody. Everyone else can fail. And a Native person fails, oh my God, it's the end of the world, right? Funding gets taken, dogs are barking, cows are meowing. Yeah, I mean, it's like, Give me a break, Oh, well, I had an idea and it didn't work. So what? I mean, that's how I truly feel. Like, why did you do that? Because I wanted to. How about that? And it didn't work. All right. And so I think about the many mentors I have, like my mother from Spider-Woman, who used to say things like, I'd say, well, I don't know, and she would say, just do it. Just do it. You never know. You never know. You never know what just doing means, right? So I that is the level of what we talked about Safe Harbors. And then one of the things when we started Don't Feed the Indians, one of the things when we went on tour and we started talking to LORT theaters and start going to conferences, we really realized there was one thing statistically that was missing in the pie, and that was Native-run theaters with Native-run directors. And how do we talk about teaching in our way, and how do we encourage that, right? How do we encourage to respect all these different pockets that's in theater, including administration, including producing, including stage managing? Those are things that are very, very important too. And how do we train another generation to come up who, not everybody wants to be an actress. That's the truth. And not everyone has the talent to be the actress. Know your talent, first of all. And not everybody has the talent to be a writer or a director. But there are people who have talent to, costume, who know how to sew, who can make a great living doing this. You can, who understands how to organize in stage management. One of the things I'm very interested in is with Native peoples is we talk about our gifts and what the Creator gives to you. And what are your gifts? And how do you take those gifts? And how do you go further with those gifts? I know my gifts, but there are other people, we don't all have the same gifts because we're not all the same people. We're all different people. So it's like, this, and I have another word for it besides racism, when they turn around and say, well, how come you don't dance? It's like, well, how about I have no rhythm? I mean, I don't personally, but I'm saying, how come you don't powwow? Did you go and see that nice Indian dance the other day? No, I did not. So that happens all the time. And I don't know if they say this, it's like, do they say this to other cultures? Everyone will say, oh, they say this to everybody. Well, I don't know. As I always say, if I was Czechoslovakian and I was worried about Czechoslovakian culture, I would know all about Czechoslovakia. I'm not Czechoslovakian. I'm a Native woman who's Kuna Rappahannock from Brooklyn, New York, and I know what I know from here. And that's what I concentrate on. And I concentrate on the community and what we can do for this community in the terms of arts, and I think it's really important to understand, I'm not a councilwoman, thank God. I'm not a clan mother. I'm not a chief. I'm not a tribal chairman. I'm just a schmuck like everybody else trying to run a theater company and get my stuff seen, right? We're all having this voice. And then you find this marginalization that makes you insane. Right. It's just like, and that's a lack of a better word. I don't want to get calls that I said insane, but, I'm saying that what happens is that the lack of content, the marginalization, like everybody gets mentioned. We only got mentioned once at the inauguration yesterday, by the way. And that is something to talk about, right? We're talking about changing rooms, changing spaces, changing dialogue. And we still only get mentioned once. And there's something to say about that because that goes in everywhere. And that is the reason why I started this festival and started Safe Harbors. And Safe Harbors originally had a Native name at Rappahannock, and we changed it because I felt that the idea of Safe Harbors was it was a safe place to fail, to succeed, to be any way you want to be overweight, underweight, not good looking, it doesn't matter. To be strange, not strange, because we come in all those different, and it's safe. And we have conducted panels where it has been safe for non-Indians too, where, okay, this is the panel, and I think you've been there, Erin, where this is the Indian 101 panel. Give us your stupid questions now, because this is the nicest we're ever going to be and the safest we're ever going to be, right? but don't ask other Indians this because, you know, your feelings might get hurt, you know? So, I mean, I am very interested in safety. I'm very interested in safety in the art. I'm very interested in the safety of where we go as artists and the people coming up. So that is kind of, that's a 15, not even 10 minutes of how we started this and the reasons why.
Thank you. Thank you for your generosity and your empathy and your laughs. Are there other folks who want to talk about Safe Harbors, or should we talk a little bit about the festival and what did it mean? What's it mean to be doing the festival this year in this format? What are you looking forward to? That kind of stuff.
Oh, I can tell you what I'm looking forward to. Since I'm out of Chicago, I haven't seen this festival at all in the last couple of years that they've done it. So I'm excited to be able to see it this year since it's virtual. And it's available to everybody. So I think it's amazing. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm excited because my family or more of my family will be able to see it because we're like West Coast based. I'm not sure if they're watching. I think they're watching. So hello. But yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Yes, my niece. She put it in the chat, Lafani. Hello. But I'm excited because we were talking about like how we're working on this. Like for TP Tales from Muriel's production, our composer is based in Vancouver. I'm based in Denver. Our editor is based in Chicago, and then we have everyone else on the East Coast. So it's really kind of beautiful to see how we had this collaboration literally across the country coming together to make this happen. And I'm excited because we're still working on it. So I'm excited to see the final product too.
And does it feel like I mean, one of the things, there's so many devastating things for the theater specifically about this moment, let alone the broader world for this moment. But does it feel like the opportunity to be working with people who are who are from different geographic locations, is that building on community that was already built? Are you building new relationships? Is it a mix of those things?
I'll speak on that a little bit shortly because I definitely feel like it was that, and I'm so excited about it. It's just like, you know, it's all of these like natives who you kind of work with in passing, and you know, sometimes it's just like overwhelming, you know, you're just trying to work and get from gig to gig. So you meet somebody and it's like, this year was kind of different because I feel like in my head from the beginning of like, you know, basically from springtime this past year during the pandemic, I was like, well, like it's going to be all hands on deck. Like we got to pull in everybody we know, like every Indian who does anything, like come please help us. Not really like that, but not that desperate. But you know, it's still like it was fun in that way. I feel like a lot of times, you know, like I think of like, you know, TP Tales, which me and Amber co-directed together, which is Muriel's one person show. And, you know, it was like me and Amber had never really worked together, but we enjoyed working together. And then it was like, you know, for hair and makeup, I'm like, okay, I used to work at a salon, and like the guy who worked at the salon was Young Hawk, and he's Ojibwe and Oneida. So I'm going to ask him to come and do the hair. So he came and did the hair. And then he's like, do you need makeup? I'm like, yes, find us a makeup person. So he was able to find, you know, makeup to try to get this done, like just to be as, I mean, we're trying. We're also like theater people trying to do film. And that's also that's a whole nother thing. But, you know, it was like trying to just pull in as many hands as possible. And then it's like last minute kind of forgot about an editor. It's just scary. So then it was like, oh, we don't have an editor. Like, who are we going to have as an editor? And then it's like, you know, we scrambled around for that. And then, you know, Frankie, who's working on TP Tales with us, like Frankie filmed me dancing earlier in the fall for a project she's working on and got a grant for about like indigenizing colonized spaces. And it's like, okay, I had already kind of gotten to know her. She had told me she's a theater person who's interested in film. So I'm like, great. Now we have her as an editor, like Anastasia, who's another woman who helped me when I did my one person show. She did all the graphics for it and all of the video. We got to pull her in as an editor for Nick and Danielle. And she really enjoyed, and I think it's great to kind of share these spaces with a lot of these folks who you didn't imagine you would work with like that in a professional setting eventually, because it's like it's almost like being with friends, you know what I mean? And they're into the work and they enjoy the work. Like Frankie loves working on the editing. Anastasia loved working on Estacate for Nick Billy. Like she talked about it and how empowering the film itself that she edited, how it felt for her. So I think it's just, that's one of the fun things, right? And then you have like Moses and Anthony and like, you know, Ikitawin, which is like Kirby's group, who's like, Kirby's a part of the ensemble, right? And you have like Jasmine, who's going to be a part of music night. She's a part of our ensemble, and like her pieces are beautiful because it's like she just knows how to edit things on Premiere great, and it's like everything, she's like the coolest videos, right? So I think that's a really fun part about it, is just pulling people in and then like watching it kind of happen. And like now I'm here kind of at the tail end, like, you know, editing Music Weekend and looking back on it like, dang, we got some really good Native artists here. Like, you know, because you don't think to really look at it. You're just you're going and going and going, like, get this done, get it done. And by the time, like, you know, looking at it now, I'm like, dang, we really picked some good ones. Like there's some real, like, this is a talented group of people. And I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to, because I just feel like there's something for every Native everywhere in this festival. Truly, I feel that way. I mean, it's so diverse, from Anthony to Moses to Santee to Muriel to Nick to Ikitawin to Don't Feed the Indians, and then Music Weekend. It's like there's something for everyone to enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, you want musicals, go to Music Weekend. You like drag, you should go and see Anthony Hudson's piece. You know what I mean? It's like, if you are interested in Hawaiian history, you need to go watch Duke. If you're interested in New York City Indians, watch Teepee Tales. You're interested in Choctaw history, you need to watch Estacate. Like there's so much that it's like it's never ending. You're interested in youth, we have Ikitawin. It's like we have like we've got such a broad layout that I'm just like, I'm really excited for, of course, the world to see it. I'm also really excited for other Natives to see it. That's like a really big thing for me. It's like, I'm very excited to see that, because I think also it is a rough time for all of us, for Indian country. We've lost a lot of elders, and it's like really detrimental to a lot of our communities. And I think this is something to kind of remind people that, you know, storytelling never ends and it always keeps going. And, you know, of course, we're devastated, and our communities are going to be devastated for years, you know, but this is something that is kind of a reminder of storytelling within these films, that like, this is what we can look forward to, right? We can continue to pass this information, continue to pass these stories through this avenue. And I think it's really great to just be able to share that with the people who need it, right? And everyone needs it right now. But that was my time. I'm very excited to.
Well, I want to jump in and say that it was an amazing but an incredible learning experience to do Stajada, which means Indian in Muskogee. And it was amazing to be in the company of Danielle Soames, who directed it. It felt safe. I felt nurtured. I felt like I was heard and listened to, where in a lot of, and she understood the Native aspects of it, which was really, really important to me. And so without her in this, through the rehearsal period, through the filming, the production, the post-production of it, I don't think it would have happened. And so I'm very grateful to Danielle for that. And I'm also grateful to Safe Harbors for the space that they created for me to do this. And like Muriel said, if I flop, if I fail, I do. But guess what? That's a Native person doing Native work for Native people, so they can see that they can do this. Maybe not to this degree, but to whatever degree that they want to try. And it's also about that it's not a specific age range, it's for all age ranges. I'm an older performer beginning to do my work at an older age. So I want older Native people to know that you can also tell your stories. They are important, whether you're traditional, contemporary, displaced, non-recognized, enrolled, any of you, you can do this. We need to hear your stories too. So, but yes, it was an incredible experience, because it is kind of difficult to translate very, very quickly a stage performance into a film performance. Very difficult. So I work full time, and Danielle was working full time and is also a caretaker of one of her parents. So with all of these things involved, plus a very, very tiny, tiny budget, which many, many artists experience, not just me, but many artists, we did it. So Safe Harbors has created this space for someone like me to do these things. So, and it has motivated me to begin to look at my own form of what is Native thriving? What is Native resilience? How can I begin to reimagine that, but through a Native narrative, so that I don't have to rely on a westernized narrative that says, oh, you must fit into this category. If you look at all these people on this Zoom, we look different, thankfully. And this is all also to say that for Native people, older people, your stories are important, but you don't have to look like this beautiful image, this stereotyped image of what we all have had beaten into our heads that, oh, you must look this specific way. Well, I definitely don't. So, but I do want to encourage other older Native people to think about your stories and to possibly want to tell them, want to produce them in whatever way that you want, whatever medium that you want. But again, I've had this opportunity through Safe Harbors and through New York Theater Workshop that has allowed me to create this video. So now I'm going to let Danielle Sohm speak. And thank you, Danielle, for being such a magnificent director. Without your effort, it wouldn't have been done. Thank you.
That is so sweet. Thank you so much, Nick. You really, you know, sugar-coated my cookie. Wait, thank you so much. I love these guys. I love Safe Harbors. I love them so much. Such a supportive group of friends and family members and artists and collaborators. Honestly, the connections that we have made with New York Theater Workshop and La Mama and so many other organizations, I have to say that I feel really, really happy and content and complete with the group and all of the things and bridges, like the momentum that is starting to occur is wonderful. I think what's so great about working with Nick and also with Muriel and Josie when we were working together to create this wonderful theater piece, which Nick has been working on for a while and also been curating it through his graduate program. He was able to show it as part of a thesis. And I was very lucky to be a part of his thesis board. So I was pretty excited about that. But Nick and I go way back, and it was really wonderful to work with an artist who I know so well with, I would say, working on stage as well as being a friend and taking great care of his stories to make sure that they were communicated to an audience that might not be of a Native background so that we can broaden our horizons as the scope of audience members that we can bring in. And also keeping in mind that we want to add that theatrical element to the film, which that was that was challenging, very, very challenging as a theater director. And in such a young age, I mean, I would say young age in career, not age wise, but I won't give it away. So I just tell you that, you know, as a director, knowing that lighting and sound and movement are so important to creating the story and making it full for the audience members as well as interesting for them to see. Having that then translate onto film and creating that same experience was a challenge. So I'm not sure if it is created. We will see, but you will see. Please tune in. And I'm hopeful that the story frame and how it is interpreted by audience members brings justice to the story, because there's so many interwoven tales that Nick has created that make it his level of being, I would say, transitional and not one level. He's very diverse in the way that he acts the piece, and also very diverse in the way he tells the stories. So I'm hoping that the elements added will create that aspect for the audience. But this festival has definitely allowed me to explore that. So thank you for that. And then have the opportunity for it to be seen in such a wide level. So this is cool. We're excited. I mean, hey, New York Theater Workshops, that's awesome. So I'm looking forward to the festival very much. And I want to hand it over to Amber, who I'm sure has more to say. And maybe Erin, you have a different question as well, but thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's exactly it, was when we were like trying trying for like theater into film, because again, we're like, what is that? How does that work? And then my also big concern, because this is my first time working with Muriel, and I think Muriel's the funniest person alive. I was like, oh my God, how are we gonna get this done in this timeline? Because we'll get on the Zoom and just start laughing, and it's one of like the funnest experiences ever. But we did it. We like went through the script. We had rehearsals. We kind of like dived into like the timeline of because the story is about your family, like generations of women who lead your family in very hysterical ways. But yeah, I'm excited to see like how it reads for the audience, because we're the ones that have been working on it. To like have fresh eyes to be able to view it, I think is the most exciting. Also, it's kind of like, okay, but did it read? Hopefully. But yeah, with Josephine and I, because they were filming in New York, we kind of like built up to the day. And so I was just sitting here in Denver, just like, well, I hope filming's going okay, because we're kind of like separate on that part. But they did so well, and there's so much beautiful footage. One of my favorites you're gonna see is actually of Josephine dancing in Brooklyn. Sorry, I was learning the questions. But yeah, I think that's just what I'm most excited to see, is like having some fresh eyes viewing it. And again, like what we're talking about with Safe Harbors, that's so true about having a safe place to explore your stories. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it, is self-determination of like how we choose to share our stories. And that's so important. And then working on this administration side has actually been the most pleasant. We kind of do like traditional methodology of like group agreements and moving forward like as a collective. And this is my first time working with Christina too, who's been so incredible as executive director. I don't know if you wanted to add in too, Christina, just because I think you're very incredible.
Thank you. That's really sweet. So I'm not a theater background, so or film or anything. I'm more like a graphic designer, web designer. But when they brought me in, it's been amazing. These people are so, of course, some of them are with my family, but everyone feels like family. So it's been great. It's been really good. I've got to say, I'm proud of everybody. This year has been very hard, so I'm very proud of everybody. So keep up the good work.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I was going to say, I can keep asking questions all night. There's so many things that I want to talk about, but we got some questions on Facebook, so I will turn there, and I'll ask them one at a time. They're in the chat too, if you want to look ahead. But the first question is, what is the difference you've seen between the theater art world a decade ago compared to now?
A decade ago, we're talking 1980s. Is
No,
that what we're talking? Is that a decade?
That's 2010.
Was that 2000?
That was 30 years ago, not 10. I'll give a quick answer because I don't.
Because I don't
10
know.
years ago, I wasn't very old, but 10 years ago, I definitely say there was a lot more. People were a lot more comfortable saying racist things and being racist. Not that it's gone away completely. I mean, people do slip up, and you can always kind of tell who's a part of the old guard and who's not. I mean, within like New York theater or musical theater specifically. And I feel like 10 years ago, I was in school and people did say some shady things. I mean, they definitely were not shy about how they felt for you, felt about you. You know what I mean? Whether it be your weight or how you look, and, you know, all of those things, and typing. You know, and I think since Hamilton, a lot of things have changed. You know, that was like the hot new thing when it first came out, and it was like, you know, multicultural casting. I still don't really know what that means, but it did change the scope of how people think about theater, I think, a little bit as far as casting. Like, I think people realize, like, oh, it's hurtful to say you're fat, so you should play a slutty role. That's hurtful. Or it's hurtful to say, oh, you're not tall and skinny, so you're not a leading woman. That is hurtful to people. So I will say people are more aware of that. That's would be my
Thank you. Other reflections?
I agree. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done if I'm going by 10 years ago. And we still have work, right? We still have work to do on many realms, the political realm, the artistic realm, right? Where this earth is going, where are we going as a country, right? Or as human beings. So I think that if I think about the awareness of 10 years ago of what another generation won't put up with, sometimes shocks me because I tend to say, oh, you know, it's like me and Danielle and Nick, we all come from the same generation. So we have Christina, Amber, and Josie, and they're like, no, you can't say that. We're like, oh okay. Not how I would say, but okay, because it's a different generation's voice, and really tapping into that voice a lot of times because you want to stay connected to what the generation after you is saying. You know, when someone says something's offensive, and in a way, I feel the world caught up with us because I've been offended my whole life in this business, right? I have always been offended. I've been offended on the street. I mean, I just told somebody that this woman who was moving to New Mexico, I was at a showcase, and she grabbed onto me and she said, she said, please let me feel your native energy. Hopefully people aren't saying that anymore. So, you know, but I think there's little tweaks.
Well, I think that following along Josie and Muriel is that 10 years ago, yes, there were things that were more racist, so to speak. But I also wanted to say that we're not a monolithic people. We're not all one tribe. There's many nations represented here on this screen. And we should not be treated as one monolithic tribe because we're not. And but I also think there is more awareness, and I'm so glad to be engaging with younger individuals so I can learn, so that Amber, Christina, Josie, they teach me. And I'm so grateful for that because I really need that. That's nurturing to me. And I do want to learn how to speak their vernacular and, you know, the pronouns and all of these wonderful things that I didn't have access to because of technology. So I am grateful to walk side by side with the younger individuals, native, non-native, persons of color, younger persons of color who do teach me. And I'm grateful for that. So for me, I guess from 10 years ago to now, that's what I think has changed a little bit for me. But again, we're not one tribe. We're many different peoples. And we should be treated as many different peoples. We only use the umbrella term Native American to identify with each other. We respect each other as peoples from different nations. So there you go.
I think we're saving on paper now, much more on paper. Why do I say that? Because we didn't have the social media to blast our advertising on, right? 10 years ago, we had to give people a flyer, actual flyer with, you know, here's the info or an email blast. So that's a big difference. I know it's not what we're talking about, but I thought it'd be something to just shine in there. You know, that's changed a bit. Aside from that, honest, I think that the vernacular of when people go to see Native theater, that hasn't changed so much. I think we have a lot of work to do for that. Getting the audience members to come in, you have a lot of similar folks that they want to broaden their horizons, they're curious, maybe they're related. I don't know. They're coming in because they want to have a connection, but you don't have the broader scope of the theater audience interested. Those folks that want to buy the tickets to see Hamilton or buy a ticket, to see something on Broadway, Beetlejuice. The people that are going out there to buy tickets for these things, are they going to come see us? That's what I want to see. I want to see them at the theaters. This time, virtual. It's
Yes,
virtual.
absolutely. I want to see that too. I want to see us to have our own subscription base, and I want to see us to audience development and ticket development, and those things are very important, because if you want a LORT theater, understand you're on Native land, and you're most likely surrounded by a Native community. You have Chicago. I mean, that Chicago, it's not just New York. There's a bunch of, there's a whole community there, and it has the oldest, think about it, has the oldest community center in the United States, right? So, I mean, if we think about it, Seattle, so kind of how do we nationally get them to buy the tickets so they understand our story is their story is our story, and they understand it without judgment, like everybody else. That's where I'm at.
Thank you. There's another question that says, from our friend Victor, we've heard about how the elders have adapted themselves to the younger generation. What is something that the younger generation has taken, adapted, come to understand from their elders?
That'd be me and Amber, I suppose, and Christina. I'll start. I'll say one thing is that I think I learn a lot from, they're going to get weird about being considered elders. I can tell they're so uncomfortable being called, but
I'm not.
but they are elder than me, right? So in that sense, yes, right. But I think I learned a lot. We were just kind of talking about this earlier, talking about Danielle, for example, right? Like Danielle is not that much older than me, but in a sense, right, I forget how we were even talking about, but we're thinking about I think a lot of people in Safe Harbors though respect Danielle, right, in that sense, right? And we're talking about, the same way with Nick, and the same thing with Muriel, right? And I think when we think about the rest of the ensemble, right, it's that we do in a sense consider them that, I think, because we learn so much from them. I would say I learn a lot from everybody. Of course, Muriel's my mother, so it's I know a lot of stuff from her directly, but then Nick is my other mother. That's what we always say. We always say Nick really birthed me. And but Nick is Nick always knows so much about different types of theater, about movement, about your body, and that's things I always ask Nick about, we'll text about it, stuff like that. Or if you just kind of want to bitch or complain, you know what I mean? That's another thing. Nick is a great outlet for those types of things. And Danielle in the same way. Danielle's knows a lot of information about theater and about classical pieces. And those are the types of things you can always call on Danielle about, right? And Danielle's also she's always comic relief. I feel she always cracks us up, because Danielle's just a trip. She cracks us up all the time. So, I would definitely say we learn a lot from them. And yeah, I think they're really malleable, I think, with what the youth is thinking about always. And those three have always been like that. And they've always really listened to younger people. But I feel that we do give them that same reciprocation as far as elders are considered, and how you talk to older people. That's very much instilled in a lot of Native people's ways, in which most people know is how we communicate with older people, and signs of respect, and the way that you speak to them. And I think they definitely get that same treatment. You know what I mean? Even if it's even though they don't like to be called elders, they don't like to be treated like daughtery or older people. They get very sensitive about those things. But I respect that they feel that way, right? When we were doing TP Tales, that's one thing I kept being the lighting has to be good. Makeup has to be good, because she's going to complain complain if it doesn't look good, because I know in my head, I know how she is, right? And I know how those are types of things that come up, right? Don't refer to them as old. Like, that's not a good idea. They're not going to like that. That doesn't make people feel good sometimes. So there's certain things I think that we try to be considerate about. But yeah, Amber, Christina, if you guys want to.
Well, for me, I am not that young, but I've learned, since not being from the theater world, I've learned so much this year, from like doing the land acknowledgements. I mean, I've come from Arizona. I grew up in Arizona, but being exposed to all these, different tribes and learning their ways is very great. It's very awesome for me to learn from everybody.
Yeah, Muriel, I've learned so much from you. Because like when I first met you, it was when I was working at another theater company. And so I would just like call up Muriel every now and then, be like, you want to talk about Native theater in the future and why things are so wrong right now? So that's how I got to know Muriel, because I was working somewhere else. And then I had kind of like a really bad ending, like traumatic experience with this theater company of like how it ended. And so Muriel also like really helped me through that and was like, this is the unfortunate thing about American theater, of how it treats Native people, is like, what is actual a reciprocal relationship when you have this nonprofit large organization profiting off of stolen land and you treat the people this way? So I'm just forever grateful for you for helping me through that and then bringing me on board to this literally safe place that has so much joy and love in it. I know I don't want to get teary, but I'm gonna get teary.
Don't you dare. No crying. There's no crying in theater.
No crying in show business.
Thank you all. We'll do one more question. And I think it's a kind of a lovely question to leave with and send us off into the festival, which is, what's one thing that you wish you knew coming into yourself as an artist?
I'll go. The one thing I wish I knew now, that time is short. That time is short. And you don't have the time for the bull. And if someone says you'll never work in this town again, say, okay. There's always that time is short, and you cannot think about the negativity, and the work is important, and more than the politic, it's the work. Your politic, for me, the politic is the work, and how I tell a story, and how I hopefully if I can get through to one person, one Native person, one non-Native person, on how to deal or how to go on with their life and how to deal with what has happened with historical trauma in any sort of way, then I've done my job. So time is an essence, and I really wish I knew that then when I was younger, other than, partying all the time, but that's a different story.
I'll do mine before I forget it, because I've just held on to it. I would say, oh man, now I'm gonna forget it. I was like holding on to it with every ounce of my brain. I was gonna say, be fearless. That'd be one. Always listen to that voice in your head that tells you that you're talented and you're good at something. Don't let people tear you down and tell you that you aren't, because the truth is you probably are, and they're intimidated by that. And to always work out of love, I think. Always working out of love for things that you love to do, with people you enjoy working with people you love working with, and with things that you're passionate and that you love talking about. I'm still kind of like young in my career as far as what's going on, but I think that's a grand lesson I've learned over the couple of years, is that, it has to be things that you really want to do. It has to be things that you really love to do. And, to not underestimate yourself, because I really thought I was a really bad performer for a lot of years. And I thought, I'd have no career ahead of me. And what is the point of this? And then I realized, like, no, you're not actually. So, you know what I mean? It shouldn't, and I wish it didn't take as long for me to get there as it did. So that would be my advice, is to be fearless and work out of love.
Mine probably will sound comical, but one is that I used to play the violin, I used to play the piano. These are things I wish I kept up. The other thing was the Linklater approach, you know, with the breathing techniques and all of that. I wish I would have kept up. And then the other thing is, if you're going to have something filmed, just know that you will, like, will you be proud of that film 5 years from now? Will you be proud if that's on film? Just know, like, your choices of what you want to have on film, especially now with theater to film, are important because it's forever. How do you get someone to, you know, scrap it out? But that's my 2 cents. All right. Thanks.
Well, I think I would go back to the beginning of what I said, is that learning that performance, particularly Native content, Native performance, can be done by all Native people of all ages. And it is important that a lot of Native people begin to explore their own stories and to begin to tell them and begin to have those stories validated. And had I known that, you know, when I was younger, well, it took getting to my current age to understand that I didn't know what I didn't know. So now that I know what I know, I still don't know. But but I think that being able to perform Native content that is Native content, and that is that can be nurtured in a space like this. So, because maybe 10 years ago, there was less space to do that. Now there is, and there's many, 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 many talented Native people.
Thank you. Any last thoughts? No is good.
Yeah, you're allowed to lead with joy in what you do and stand proud in it. This is a group of excellent, wonderful, incredible Native storytellers, and the joy that they share in their work and compassion, I think, is a gift. And I hope everyone who's like on the call will come to the show and experience it as well, because what these people have to say is really important. I'm just big fans of everyone, clearly.
I guess the closing I would say is come to the festival. You won't be disappointed. Everybody come, and let's see, and hopefully we'll uplift you, and next year we'll be able to meet in person. And I just would like to give a big shout out to Mia Yu, Jim Nicola, Linda Chapman, all of the staff here who has who really, my associate director Nick Billy, I like to set Samantha Batty, Christina, of course, for coming into a job, like just coming in feet first, man, and saying, okay, I'm here. And, you know, and her uncle kind of trained her to take this job. And then there's Amber, my God, she just came in and said, let's do this, man. And Danielle, we have been together, actually been working together for over 10 years, talking about different programmings, and is finally coming to fruition. And also my daughter, who really went in and did the work. And I know this was a hard year. We're a family. I mean, like literally, that's my daughter, it's my niece. You know, we've been together for a long time. So all of us were very grief-stricken over the death of my husband. But I felt that he would want us to continue on. And this was part of his vision. And I'm very happy to continue his vision with this festival. So hope I didn't exclude anybody.
Thank you so much for this joyous and generous conversation, and for the work that is to come, and Muriel for inviting me to facilitate it. This has been such a treat. I will invite Gavin back now. I'll make sure that we drop in the chat and put on Facebook the links to the festival at the workshop in La Mama. And Thank you to all of you. Thank you to Gavin for helping to make this conversation happen. Thank you to Rachel for all of your work on the festival and making this conversation happen, and everybody else at the workshop and Safe Harbors and La Mama. And I am so looking forward to seeing you all again on the 7th on the other side.
Bye all. For more information, please visit nytw.org, safeharborsnyc.org, and lamama.org for the festival information.
Let's end on a high note.
Goodbye. I love it, Muriel. I love it. Bye all.
Bye.